Yes, and welcome back to the official Sourcing with Kian YouTube channel. Today I've got a very special, I normally say very special episode, but today I can say I've got a very special series to introduce to you guys. It's a new series that I'm doing in partnership with my friends at Helium, and this series is called Straight from the Source. So myself and Helium, every single month we're going to bring you a YouTube episode to update you on the latest of what happened, not only in China but around the world in supply chain in the previous month, and then everything we need to do in order to get the best results. And these are going to come in very short, concise and actionable tips that you can apply to your business today. So like I said, it's in partnership with Helium. If you don't know about them, definitely make sure you check out all the links in the description below, where you can check out all the amazing software tools and all the amazing content that they put out. And I'm going to link all their channels down in the description below.
How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think.
And if you're new to myself, my name is Kian Golzari. I've been living and working in China for the past 12 years. In that time, I've manufactured over 2,500 products, visited more than 500 factories, and attended more than 20 Canton fairs. That has led me to work with brands such as the Olympics, the NBA, the United Nations, Ministry of Defense, supplying a lot of big box retailers in the UK, Europe, and the US, as well as helping Amazon private label sellers as well. So let's jump into it. Today's episode is going to be all about the 2021 supply chain summary. What happened in 2021? We're going to cover 8 main topics so that when we can now go over the actionable advice that you can apply to your business today, we'll do it from a place of knowledge, knowing what happened. If you were in supply chain last year, this will be a good reminder of what happened. And if you're new to the supply chain world, then this will give you a very, very good and concise summary of what happened so you can stay on top of the sourcing game. Now, let's get into it. I'll see you there. 2021 supply chain summary. Here we go. 8 main topics that we're going to cover. Now, pardon me for my dodgy drawings, but if you take a look at this, I'm not sure if you can guess what these icons and images are. That one seems quite obvious. We've got a little, we've got a ship. Well, it's a speedboat that looks like it's got a couple of chimneys on it and a little truck here. So, but you can guess what we're going to talk about there. That one, I don't know. Can you guys tell? You can see why I wasn't a designer, right? That's supposed to be a light bulb, which covers ding, the power outage situation. This one's a little barrel, which says raw M, some raw materials. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The rest, and we'll get to it, right? But anyway, I just wanted to apologize for my sketches in advance. So the first one, the freight situation, we don't need to go into too much detail because even if you're not involved in e-commerce and you're just beginning the journey now, I'm sure you heard a lot about it in the news, about the prices soaring, and they kept continually going up across the year, and the prices actually stayed up because we had a lack of capacity. We had port closures in both the China side and in the US side. We had Long Beach Port where all of the container ships sort of like with tens of 20,000 containers all on a vessel, and we saw like 40, 50, up to 100 vessels getting stuck there. Then we had, you know, containers going to vessels going to different ports to try and ease that congestion, but the capacity remained an issue all year long. On top of that, we had the Suez Canal issue, which blocked the Suez Canal, that big massive vessel, and then that messed up the flow of empty containers going back as well, caused a lot of delays, and then just the capacity issues as well. The prices drive up because there was less capacity. There was less capacity because the containers are getting stuck in the US and the empties are not going back to China, but there's a lot more business coming out of China with less containers to actually use, which is causing the prices to go up. Now we will see that decrease after Chinese New Year, which will be February 1st, which if you stay up to date with the channel and subscribe below, you're going to see the January update, the February update, and the March update for supply chain. We're going to cover actionable advice in regards to these topics, but the purpose of this video today is just to go over the summary. Not only sea freight, but all modes of transport were affected. Air freight was also affected because there was less commercial airlines in the air, and for air freight and air cargo, they use commercial airline space as well. That drove the price up a little bit. And also with trucking as well, chassis were low in capacity, drivers were low in capacity as well. So you saw a lot of delays with trucking, you saw a lot of delays with sea freight, a lot of price increases with both, and air freight as well. Now, moving on to the next topic, the power outage situation in China as well. What's interesting to cover here was that I think it was around about October, we noticed that a lot of factories were actually shutting down or they're operating under less capacity. And the main reason for that is, I lived in China for many years, and the main energy source in China comes from coal production, but coal production is a massive pollutant, and that's what causes those big polluted black skies. So in order to reduce the pollution when it gets too much, and it was getting too much because factories were working overtime because there were so many different demands on manufacturing, so the government just decided, right, cut it off, and in that way they won't go over their quota for their energy output. And then as a result, that not only affected the factories, but it also affected just the human side, like the workers as well, going home. They didn't have electricity, they didn't have heating, they couldn't cook their food, traffic lights were going out. It caused all sorts of messes in China. And then the power came back on, and we saw the factory start to operate at about 40% capacity, and the power outage situation only sort of covered maybe 40-50% of China, but it's still relevant because that situation could go on until March next year. And with it being winter time at the moment, there's going to be a lot more demand on energy. So watch that situation closely. The power could get cut again. So definitely check in with your manufacturers to see that their power situation is okay. And if you don't have backup suppliers, now would be the absolute best time to have backup suppliers so you won't be affected if it happens again. Now, covering raw materials, what did we notice there? Well, raw materials can come in many different shapes, sizes and forms. You've got your steel, you've got your aluminium, you've got your lumbar, you've got your plastic, wood, coal, minerals, all that sort of stuff. And whenever there's a shortage, that's when price increases. And you might be thinking, well, why does raw materials affect me? Why do I need to stay on top of that? Why do I need to know what's going on? Well, imagine your supply chain. You have like tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers. If you're doing, let's say, a metal product like an outdoor furniture chair, and they have steel or aluminium legs, well, the factory making that chair for you isn't also producing the metal. They're going to get their steel from a steel raw material factory. So if there's a shortage of steel, or if there's a price increase in steel, that's going to then affect the price of your goods. And I kind of view it as like my furniture chair factory is my tier 1 supplier, but then the raw material factory making the actual steel, which then the furniture factory is going to twist and bend into your chair, is like your tier 2 suppliers. So you should be very familiar of what's happening with your tier 1 and with your tier 2 suppliers. Hey guys, I've just got a quick friend I want to introduce you to. She's got a very special message to share with you guys before we jump on to the next topic. Meet Lola. Lola just wants to make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date on the latest of what's happening in China. And she also says make sure you hit that bell to turn on post notifications so you guys can stay up to date. Thanks Lola, take care, and we'll see you guys. Now, I'm sure this is an easy one to guess. Here we can see there's the carton, so this is referring to the warehouse situation. I'm sure everyone is affected by what was going on in their supply chain with warehouses. As we know, at the start of the year, Amazon had their inventory limits, which made it a little bit more difficult in terms of how much stock we could send into Amazon. So then we had to decide, okay, do we want to do in-house warehousing? Can we hold stuff in our own warehouse, in our own homes? What can we do about it? How often can we send goods into Amazon? As well as that, a lot of companies were growing in the last year as well, and as you're growing, but Amazon's reducing how much stock you can hold in, you have to rely on your 3PLs a lot more. So do you have good 3PLs? Do you have good supply chain partners? You might be increasing your stock levels as well because of the shipping delays and because of the trucking delays. So you might be ordering more stock, so you have to hold more stock. So you have to really make sure you're getting the best rates. And as well, these are quite interlinked, because when we talk about the shipping situation, based on the shipping delays, you're holding on to more stock, but you might also be shipping to different ports as well, because when there's that backlog at LA port, well, you might decide, okay, now we're going to ship into Oakland, or now we're going to ship into Houston, and now what is the trucking cost of getting our goods from Houston? Do we need to get a 3PL which is closer to Houston now, or do we need to get a more centralized warehouse if we're shipping to both ports? So a lot of these sort of supply chain challenges we had to figure out in 2021, but don't worry if you haven't gone through those situations yet. Every month, every episode, we're going to cover these topics and what we can do about it. Today's video is just the overall summary. Now the fifth point, you can probably tell by that logo, that's quite an easy one to get. This is all about supply chain responsibility, and this was a key topic, not just dealing with all the problems we had, but supply chain responsibility is something which has been emerging and growing over the years. And as we get, further on in time and as technology advances, this is going to be a topic which is going to become more and more important. And it's not only being responsible in your supply chain with your tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers, but also what materials do you use? We're talking about raw materials that you incorporate into your products that are responsible, that are recyclable, that are organic, that are not destroying the planet. Limiting the amount of plastic you use, the packaging that you use. Can it be a function of the product? Can the packaging then be reusable? Can it be a use of the product? Can it carry the product not only to transport the goods like to the store or as delivery, but can you also make use of it? Like, could it be a pouch that holds the product when you go to the beach, if it's a yoga mat or if it's a towel or anything like that? And also, is the packaging recyclable? Because that also links to the power outage situation as well. Are you getting good quality controls? Are you making sure that your products are fit for industry standard? They don't end up in a landfill, they don't end up in a dumpster, so then we have to make more goods out of China, then the energy consumption is more, then the power outage situation is more, and then the demand on freight and capacity is more. So in my mind, it all stems from having a responsible supply chain, to making sure that you are using sustainable materials when you can, that you are using recyclable packaging, that you are testing to the highest standards to make sure that all your products are fit for purpose and compliant to the highest standards, so they don't end up in a dumpster or a landfill. So supply chain responsibility is going to be a key focus and something we're really going to take a deep dive into as well. Now, we had 3 more. Can you guess what they are? That's not my phone number. This umbrella, can you guess what that is? Umbrella symbolizes insurance. Now, we've got 2 types of insurance. We've got product insurance and we've got transport insurance. And those were a key feature in 2021 as well. Product insurance because, as we said, being compliant and making sure our goods don't end up in a landfill, making sure that we're manufacturing our goods to the highest standards, and then if there was any mistakes in the supply chain process, in the production process that came from our manufacturers, well, making sure that we're not personally liable for it and that we get compensation if we get any damaged stock that we can't sell. The other thing was transport insurance. You saw what happened in the Suez Canal, and transport insurance is becoming more and more popular to make sure that if there is a delay and that you are out of stock as a result of that delay in freight, that you are now getting compensation for that because you got insurance on your transport. So 2 key factors to look into if you are growing into a big seller. That's going to be very, very important going into 2022. Okay guys, just 2 more. This one here is all about HTS codes. Now, HTS codes were super important in 2021, and they've always been important, but the reason why it had a little bit more of an effect in 2021 is that we saw these increase in prices because of the power outage, because of the freight, because of the warehousing and stuff like that. And with these increased costs, well, where can we save a bit of cost? Where can we improve our margins? And with the HTS codes, you have to make sure that you're importing your product at the lowest possible HTS code and make sure obviously you're still compliant with customs. So making sure that you're importing at the correct code, well, are you basically getting the best code from your supplier? Definitely check in with them, see like who else do they supply, what codes, what countries do they supply, what codes that they use, can you use those same codes as well? Then I like to double check that with the HTS code website, which I'll link down below in the description of this video. So you can take that code that the supplier gives you, put it into the HTS code website, make sure that code is compliant, that you're happy with that. And then also read the website and see, well, can I be bringing it in at a lesser code, at a lesser duty rate that I'm still compliant? And then also double, triple check with your freight forwarder, because your freight forwarder is the one who's clearing your goods through customs for you. And if you say, hey, I'm using this code 42010630 for my sunglasses, can you confirm that's the best code, or should I be using a different code? They're actually very experienced to give you very good advice in terms of if you are importing at the right code. And then if they can bring your code down from like maybe 12% to 6%, well, that's 6% on your cost of goods that you've just saved. So that's very, very, very important. Now, last one, we have Planet Earth here, and why I put this one here is that probably the majority of us are sourcing our products from China, but because of the issues that we faced in 2021, I think what's been a common theme is a lot of people have gone to source outside of China. First of all, they've looked domestically, can they source it in the UK, in the US, in Canada, then they've looked to Mexico, they've probably looked to Turkey, looked to many different other countries as well, India, Pakistan. And what I would notice about this is that it's the right thing to do to go and look at other countries and see what the quality is like, to see what the pricing is like, to see what the lead time is like, to see that if, you know, China shuts down during Chinese New Year, or they have like issues at the port or issue with freight, well, do I have a backup, to have another good source that I can work with? But the other thing I would say about that is that there's not many countries in the world that have the infrastructure and have the scale that China have. If you need to manufacture 15,000 units of something in 45 days, I don't think there's many other countries in the world apart from China which can do something like that. Access to skilled labor, access to low-cost labor, short lead times. So definitely check in with other countries, try it. But I can and what I've seen is a lot of people go to other countries and then they end up just coming back to China. So definitely go through the exercise. But if you are going to look at other countries, don't completely rule out China as well. And the most important thing is when you're sourcing from another country, when you're deciding, well, which country should I look at if I want to go outside of China? It goes back to the raw materials. You source from the country which specializes in the raw material that exists in your product. So if you do leather jackets, leather is very strong in Pakistan, so you would look for suppliers in Pakistan. But if you want to do an electronic product and then you start looking in Turkey, and Turkey aren't strong for electronics, then you're never going to find the best product. So definitely keep that in mind, look outside of China, and then let's see if you might come back to China as well. So those were the 8 main topics that we covered regarding supply chain. We had transport, we had power outage, we had raw materials, we had supply chain responsibility, warehousing, HTS codes, product and transport insurance, as well as sourcing from all parts of the world as well. But I want to leave you with one more thing. And actually the biggest hack I actually left off of here, and I've put it on the next page. So the number one way to improve your supply chain performance in 2022, believe it or not, let's wait for it. The best way to improve supply chain performance is subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Down below, click that button and then tap the bell, ding ding, to turn on post notifications so you can stay up to date of the latest videos which are happening. As I said, today's video was a summary of what's going on, and then we're going to be posting in early January, early Feb, early March, early April to cover everything you need to do in order to get the best results coming out of China. We've heard the word supply chain so many times, and that was the purpose of the video today, but I want to get used to a new word. Not supply chains, but supply networks, okay? So this year, how many times did you get on the phone to your freight forwarder? How many times did you have a Zoom meeting or a phone call or an email with your freight forwarder? How many times did you have a phone call with your factory or a WeChat conversation to be like, what's happening, where's our stock? And discussing order management a little bit more. How many times did you get on the call with your 3PL to be like, can you take more goods? So these are no longer supply chains. I view them as supply networks. The strength of your network is the strength of your results in your overall, I'm going to say it again, supply chain. So just get familiar with that word, supply network, and don't treat these things as like a tick box to say, okay, I've got my price, I've got my factory, I've got my shipping, I've got my 3PL, check, that's all done. No, treat it as a relationship, treat it as a network, treat it as someone that you want to really build your business with, because the ones which have the best supply networks will be the one which has the best results in 2022. So I hope you guys enjoyed those 8 main topics. Did I miss any? Were these the main ones that you also featured in your supply chain and supply networks in 2021? If I did miss any, please write down in the comments below anything you'd like me to cover in more detail, or anything that was more relevant in your business, in your supply chain in 2021. And what I want to do is make these episodes really, really interactive. So if you have any questions regarding your supply chain, supply networks, make sure you write them in the comments below. And then whatever comments and questions receive the most likes, the most upvotes, then what I'll do is on the next video, I will screenshot those questions, and I'll put them at the start of every video. So I'm going to start every video with answering those questions, and then we'll jump into the monthly updates. But if any of this stuff sounded a little bit crazy or a little bit overwhelming to you, don't worry, because every single month we're going to go over the best tips, hacks, and strategies to stay on top of all of these topics. I can't wait. Make sure you check the description down below, where you're going to see links to the Helium 10 channels, to all the resources that I've mentioned. I've also got individual YouTube videos which I've made on shipping, on recyclable manufacturing, on the power outage situation, on HTS codes. That was a really in-depth one, so if you want to reduce your HTS codes, definitely check out those videos, and I'll link all of those in the description down below. So can't wait, guys. Thanks very much for being with me for the first episode straight from the source, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.